Hello everybody, welcome to this week's vlog. Here's a little thing that I ordered from a small business called Ultraplushies. They make some really cool 2000s nostalgia products featuring their artwork. They make a lot of really cute things. And here's their business card in case you want to support them. I believe they have a website still, but you can check their Instagram page for updates. So to start off with this vlog, I'm going to be working on some Ultrakill plushies. I have a pattern for this available on my website, which is casualrainbow.store. I do have it on Etsy too, but it's actually cheaper if you buy it off of my website. So if you'd like to make one of these Ultra plushies, you can buy my pattern. So I'll just let this footage play and you can enjoy a little montage. For the rest of this vlog, I'll be working on this Max plush, as you can see by the title of the video. This was a commission that I got last year from a very good friend of mine. It was a birthday gift. So the pattern for this plush is actually based on the official Max plush that they have. It's by the brand called Uncute. I'm not gonna sell this pattern or anything. Most of the time when I make my plush patterns, I don't base off of another one completely. Like, I will use another pattern for reference for maybe a head shape or something that I'm not really sure how to go about. It helps me learn a bit more on pattern making, but for the majority of my plushies, I make all the patterns from scratch. I've just been building onto the skills that I already have. I just wanted to acknowledge that I didn't make the pattern for this plush. So what you're seeing here is I'm cutting a top layer of fabric from the teeth that I made. This is basically just an applique technique. So I have basically 3 layers of fabric. I have the bottom layer, which is supposed to be the bottom teeth. Then I have another layer for the top teeth. And then on top of that, I have a layer for the face. And now it's time to do some applique for the ears. So next I'm gonna clip together and sew the ears. Then I'm gonna snip the extra seam allowance. I did this off camera, but I hand embroidered some details onto Max's face. Here I'm using a technique with a chopstick and a straw to turn the ears inside out. With the ears sandwiched in between the head pieces, I can now sew together the head. Now we can flip it inside out. I think it's looking great so far. So now I'm going to use some polyfill to stuff the head. With the head pretty much finished, we can now move on to making the body. After clipping everything, I'm going to be sewing the 2 front pieces and the 2 back pieces of the body. Since I didn't get a video of the face, here's how I embroidered the belly button on Max. I'm using a small embroidery hoop. I tighten the hoop pretty well, and I can start embroidering. Next, I'm going to clip the front and back of the body together and start sewing there. After all that is assembled, I'm gonna start working on the arms and the legs. So the arms and the hands are all one pattern piece. So here I'm cutting it out, and then I'm gonna clip it together and sew it. And then I'm gonna snip off the extra seam allowance as close as I possibly can so that the fingers are more defined. If you're doing this, do not snip through the stitches you made because you'll be left with a hole in your plush and you'll have to fix it. Also, I highly recommend getting fabric scissors because it makes stuff like this so much easier. After I turn it inside out, I'm using a chopstick to push against the seams so that you can fully see the shape. I'm also brushing out the fur pile so that the seams look more smooth. Normally I would use a pet brush for this, but because this is a more delicate piece, since I hand sewed it, I'm using just a regular sewing pin. I did a lot of applique on this plush. Here I'm doing some for the toe beans. Also, here's the leg pieces. So this is probably the smallest applique I've ever done. I just go really slow and take my time, and I be as accurate as I possibly can. Also, I didn't have any stabilizer on hand, so I'm using notebook paper, but I really don't recommend that. It made the stitches a bit jagged. So next I'm gonna carefully trim off the excess. And here's how his cute little toe beans turned out. Now I'm gonna sew together the leg pieces. I'm now finished with the machine sewing parts. So now I can make his little tail. For this, I'm hand sewing basically an oval shape. I'm using a running stitch on the edge of the piece. Once I get all the way around, I'm gonna carefully pull the thread and start adding the stuffing in. And then I'm gonna add some more stitches, close it fully shut. Next, I'm gonna be attaching the legs. First, I'm gonna pin it together onto the body where I want it, and then I'm gonna use a ladder stitch. I also need to attach the feet to the legs. After I sew on the tail, I'm gonna carefully sew the head onto the body, making sure that it's even. Onto the final step, I'm going to attach the arms onto the body. I'm going to be sewing the arms, putting the thread back and forth through the body. This way the arms can swivel around and it can kind of be posed. Once the arms are securely attached, I'm gonna glue down the teeth with some Fabri-Tac so that they can stay in place. And here I'm using a piece of tape to keep the teeth down while it dries. This Lagomorph is now ready for the reveal. Now we can pack the order. I hope you all enjoyed this week's video. I'm really happy with how Max turned out, and I kind of want to make one for myself because he's just so cute. I just want to thank my friend Tim for supporting my shop again. He commissioned me once before, and I made a Music Man. I really do appreciate the support. So I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the rest of packing in this video. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like. Any support I really appreciate. And if you feel inclined to, you can visit my website, casualrainbow.store. It'll be in the description, and you can follow me on Instagram for updates. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!